Hi, welcome back to RVing for Good. I'm Dave Dufour, and I'm here with Linda and Delbert Schrock, who are going to be our road warriors, so to speak, on their next trip for the SOUP organization, doing service opportunities for older people. Delbert and Linda have discovered a way that you can also take advantage of, if you like, to combine love of RVing with a desire to use their life experiences in service for others. First thing, I just wanted to ask you real quickly, what kind of, this is your home on the road that we're taping in. What kind of a trailer do we have here?
Holiday Rambler.
Holiday Rambler.
Fifth wheel.
Fifth wheel,
Yeah.
okay. And it's a, what is it, 28 foot, did you tell me earlier?
28 foot, yes.
So it's not a monster, but it's very roomy for two people, it seems like.
It's
Very
comfortable.
comfortable.
Very comfortable. And when you were on the road in Waco, or traveling in Waco, you were telling me, we'll talk a little bit more about the Waco trip, but you were saying that because you were out doing things, that the trailer, it becomes more of a refuge in essence at the end of the day. Is that right?
Well, if we were in it all day, every day,
Yeah.
it would be kind of small.
Right.
But with getting out and working with other people and doing things, this became our home away from home. It was our place to get away.
Right.
And there was another trailer park very close to us at the Waco site, and so we arranged kind of a signal, Betty and I did. When we were ready for company, we opened the drape facing the other trailer. When we wanted to be by ourselves, we left it closed.
There you go.
And this was just our haven.
Cool. Yeah. Well, so it's a nice way to go, especially when you're in a unusual environment, an unfamiliar environment. Now, tell me about the place in Waco that you went to. What was that?
That was called World Hunger Relief Incorporated. It was a working farm, a small farm, but it was a place to train young people who were interested in doing service in third world countries or very underprivileged areas of the United States.
Okay.
And the living was a little more primitive. For them, they did a lot of things by hand, as they would in a third world country.
Okay, so they had a little different plumbing system, didn't? Or their sewer system was a little bit different. What did you tell me that was? Self-composting.
Self-composting toilets.
Okay, so it was a little bit unusual, maybe a little more rustic than you're perhaps used to. But they were doing everything. The idea of all of this was not just to be green in America. It was to basically give them the same environment that could be sustainable in a third world country, correct?
Yes,
Right.
and would be more advanced than many third world countries were.
Oh, okay.
I mean, sanitation, how to deal with it properly, how to handle food, those kinds of things, how to produce food.
Mhm.
They planted their own from seeds and then planted it out into very large gardens,
Right.
and then harvested that and all those kinds of things.
Okay.
They had chickens and goats, and then a couple of steers,
Mm-hmm.
and in the fall they'd raise turkeys.
Okay.
And,
So yeah.
And they had a pecan farm that they
There was
managed.
the pecan farm sound. I take it that pecan pie was big, or did they not do that much with that, or they just sold the pecans, right?
They primarily sold the pecans, but they also had from the Scheller factory kicks back any pecans that might be questionable. So we went through those and picked out the good pecans, and then we used those for making pecan bars.
Okay.
Didn't make so much pie,
Those are
but
good, though. I'm
they were
sorry.
good. Yes.
I'm
And I
sitting
also-
here just my mouth is watering thinking about pecan bars. What was now? You were there for how long?
We were there for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, and then and how much of the time were you working as opposed to and what kind of work did you do? Well, let's start with how much work per week were you doing, basically?
I was doing about 4 hours a day, and I worked from cleaning to cooking to office work. I worked in the garden a little bit, but not an awful lot.
Okay, and we're going to have a shot of the shop where you was kind of your domain. That will come up on the screen here in a moment. But you were in the mechanical area, obviously.
Right. Repaired a lot of farm equipment, they had a lot of things donated to them, like
Mhm.
rototillers and so on. Some of it worked and some of it didn't. Some of it needed to be worked on and brought back into usable condition.
Right.
And that's where I work most of the time.
And your background is in, you were a bus mechanic for a while.
I
is
was
that-
bus mechanic, semi-tractor mechanic, just in
Right.
general mechanic, and ex-farmer. I used to be a farmer, so I've got some of the experience
so
of
that
the
mechanical
equipment that they.
experience as well.
Yes.
But you were telling us earlier when we were kind of planning the show that you still have gotten a few calls from them just about little things that you fixed, and you've been away from there for quite a while now, and they
Right.
still ask you questions, right?
Right. They most of the people that are involved with that are not farm background people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had some advantage on them as far as some of the equipment and things that they had.
Right.
So was able to help them both being there and on the telephone. So
And you worked in the kitchen a lot. You baked bread. I know that was a biggie, right?
Oh, I bake bread. I have a cookbook for whole wheat, and they use a lot of whole grain stuff.
Okay.
So I came back up to the house here and got my cookbook and took it down and baked some bread. They go through about 10 to 12 loaves of homemade bread a week.
Wow. Okay.
So there was plenty of opportunity for that. I also introduced them to shoe fly cake, which is similar to shoe fly pie. They'd
Right.
never heard of it. So we did a lot of things in the kitchen.
That's great. Well, and you're not going back there, but you're going on to another location this next time in your next trip, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that in the next segment. So stay with us on RVing for Good.